Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open one of the most critical systems in the aerospace industry, the one that keeps planes flying safely. We're diving into Clause 9 of the AS9100D standard, and we'll use a case study to see exactly how a top-tier company makes sure every single part is absolutely perfect. All right, let's start right here with this key idea. For the company in our case study, we'll call them Advanced Aeroparts Manufacturing, or AAM for short. The stakes couldn't be higher. You know, in aerospace, there is zero, and I mean zero, room for error. Their parts go into things where failure is just not an option. So getting it right every time isn't just a goal, it's a flat-out, non-negotiable requirement. So how do they pull this off? Well, to make it super simple, think of it like a spaceship's health check. Clause 9 is really built on three critical systems, three pillars that all have to work together perfectly to keep the whole operation mission ready. Let's take a look at how they're structured. Here's our flight plan for this explainer. We'll start with AM's mission, then we'll break down the three pillars of performance evaluation. First, the constant monitoring in Clause 9.1, then the independent audits in 9.2, and finally, leadership strategic review in 9.3. And then we'll tie it all together to see how it creates this amazing system for excellence. Okay, let's jump into our first pillar, monitoring. Now, going back to our spaceship analogy, think of this as the main dashboard in the cockpit. And it's not just one little gauge. It's this huge, comprehensive display with a constant stream of real-time data coming from every single system on board. So what's the standard actually asking for here? Well, Clause 9.1 basically forces a company to answer some really fundamental questions. What are you going to measure? How are you going to measure it to make sure the results are legit? When are you going to do it? And when are you going to sit down and actually analyze what it all means? The whole point is to build a structured, data-driven way to check the pulse of your entire quality management system. And here is exactly how AM puts that into practice. They've got this super systematic approach that turns raw data into real action. It all starts with figuring out the right things to measure. Then they constantly monitor those areas, paying really close attention to what their customers are saying. After that, it's all about analysis, figuring out what the data is telling them, acting on those insights, and this is huge, documenting everything so they can do it right every single time. And wow, take a look at this. It really shows you just how deep their monitoring goes. I mean, they're not just looking at the final product. AMM is tracking everything from how their products are performing to how safe they are, the efficiency of their internal systems, their delivery times, and even the quality they're getting from their own suppliers. It's a true end-to-end view of the entire operation. Now, this is the secret sauce right here. This is what sets AM apart. They don't just sit around and react to problems. They use their data to be predictive. They're analyzing trends and looking for those little leading indicators, those early warning signs, so they can spot potential risks and stop problems before they even happen. So let me give you a concrete example of how this works. Let's say a dashboard starts flagging a tiny, gradual decline in performance for a really important component. A team from different departments gets together right away, they investigate, and they trace the root cause to something as simple as a tool wearing out. The key is they fix it before a single bad part ever makes it out the door. Now that's what proactive quality is all about. Okay, on to pillar number 2, the independent diagnostic check. If monitoring is the dashboard, then the internal audit is like the expert mechanic who comes in with their diagnostic computer to make sure every single system is running exactly the way it's supposed to. So what's the big idea behind Clause 9.2? It's pretty straightforward. You have to conduct internal audits on a regular schedule. The whole point is to get an honest, objective answer to two questions. First, does our quality system actually follow our own rules and the AS9100D standard? And second, are we actually doing what we say we're doing out on the shop floor? An audit isn't about pointing fingers. It's a powerful tool to find weaknesses before they turn into big problems. And to make this happen, AM has this really rigorous 6-step audit program. It all starts with a risk-based plan, so they focus their energy on the most critical areas. Then they execute, using well-trained, impartial auditors who report everything, the good and the bad, straight to management. And finally, they follow through, making sure problems get fixed and documenting the whole thing from start to finish. And this is what I love about their approach. Their auditors are not just checking boxes on a list, no way. They're more like detectives. They are actively hunting for clues, for risk indicators, for those subtle early warning signs that might point to trouble down the road. Their mission is to prevent failures, not just write a report about them after the fact. So, you want to see that detective work in action?
Check this out. An audit uncovers that for rush jobs, the risk assessments are kind of all over the place. That finding triggers an immediate update to the procedure and some retraining for the supervisors. And what's the result? A direct fix that cuts down on rework and stops those annoying schedule delays. It just works.
All right, that brings us to our third and final pillar, the big one, what I like to call the captain's meeting. This is where top leadership gets together. They look at all the data from the dashboard, all the findings from the diagnostics, and they use it to chart the course for the entire company. So Clause 9.3 says that top management has to review the whole quality system regularly. But at a place like AAM, this is so much more than just a meeting. It's the absolute highest level of oversight. It's their strategic governance process, designed to make sure their system is still suitable, still adequate, still effective, and totally aligned with where the company is headed. This is where data makes critical business decisions happen. And just look at the sheer volume of information they bring to the table. The standard requires a ton of inputs for a reason. Management is looking at everything from customer report cards and delivery performance to audit results, whether they have enough resources, and the status of their risk plans. They need that complete 360-degree picture to make smart, strategic choices. And they don't just wing it. AM's leadership follows this super logical agenda every single time. They start by looking back, checking on actions from the last meeting. Then they look outside at what's changing in the industry. They dive deep into their own data. They look forward, checking on their risk plans. And then, finally, they look for new ways to get even better. It's a disciplined process that ensures nothing gets missed.
And there's that word again, predictive. You see how it's not just a buzzword? It flows through the entire system, all the way to the top. The leadership team isn't just looking at last month's numbers. They are actively using trends and leading indicators to steer the company away from future problems and towards new opportunities. And this is where the rubber meets the road. The review shows that on-time delivery is starting to slip, and they trace it to one particular supplier. Leadership doesn't just make a note of it, they act. They get on the phone with that supplier immediately, and at the same time, they approve an investment in more in-house capacity to protect themselves. Boom! Performance is restored, and customers stay happy.
So we've looked at the three pillars: monitoring, auditing, and reviewing. But the real magic, the real power, is how they all work together. It's not three separate things. It's one seamless, integrated cycle of continuous improvement. It's this powerful, self-reinforcing feedback loop. Think about it. The constant stream of data from monitoring in 9.1 is the fuel. The independent audits in 9.2 are the verification system, making sure that fuel is clean and the engine is running right. And both of those feed directly into the strategic review in 9.3, where leadership uses those insights to tune the engine and make the very processes they're monitoring even better. It's a cycle that just keeps going, pushing for excellence. And that right there is the biggest takeaway from this whole case study. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself this question. A truly world-class system isn't just there to catch mistakes after they happen. It's built to be predictive. It's built to be proactive. It's designed to anticipate and prevent failure. That's the difference between just documenting what went wrong and actively creating a future where things go right. And that's what sets the very best apart.